Cool. All
There we
right,
go.
Brandon, it's all you. Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna put up a PowerPoint real quick. So exciting. Let's see if I can get this running. There we go. All right. And everybody sees that, right? All right.
Yep.
So I'm Brandon. I started a little company called Hedgehog Gaming. I ran a Kickstarter last October. And through the advertising for that Kickstarter, I had a gentleman um, from Mott Children's Hospital up in Michigan get a hold of me, saying this could potentially help or help some of his patients. So they were quite interested in this, and um, through the advertising, I also had a lot of folks with disabilities, just various disabilities, get a hold of me, and I've been very inspired by that, and I'm honored to that I have the ability or the honor to help people out with something, even if it wasn't intentional at first. So I ran, like I said, I ran the Kickstarter. The mouse that I built, if you imagine a joystick, a mouse, and a keyboard have a baby, that's the Hedgehog. Um, so we have both left and right. When we design our mice, this is our first mouse. When we design this mouse, we're building a left and right hand version at the same time. And each device can either act as a mouse or when placed in a spring loaded base unit, it becomes a sliding joystick. The original intent for this was for MMORPG games, so the World of Warcraft and the Final Fantasy 14. Um, the goal of this mouse was to hit the market in a niche community, and then once I make a little bit of a name for myself and prove that I can deliver on my promises, then widen out the communities that I'm serving. So different mice. Here's a little tiny video of the mouse clicking into the base and a little bit of a live gameplay. So this is just an animation. I don't think it should have sound, but you can see it's kind of hitting the springs and springing back to center. And this is in Final Fantasy, where someone's actually using one of my initial prototypes to kind of play a little bit. I didn't want to. I just clipped the video just to give you an example of what it does. Um, So that was that device. In the future, I have some lofty goals in mind. One of the first things I want to do is make sure that right now my device is only available on the computer, but I want to make sure to give a lot of effort and thought into making my device work on Xbox and PlayStation. I think that's important, and hopefully it reaches some more people that play on these systems. It's a bit of an expensive device for a PlayStation or Xbox, but I can see some people wanting to use it on those. Um, the next devices that I had in mind, I deliver my device in October. Um, After October, so long as my sales kind of stay at a reasonable level, I intend to build a smaller version of the Hedgehog. So something along the lines of 5 to 9 button mouse. That's much smaller, but it has the same features where it can be placed in the base unit, spring back to center, and it has both left and right hand versions. And then in parallel to that, this is something that I mentioned to Eric a little over a month ago. I am looking into a project where I take the base of my mouse, where it's the plastics, the circuit board, and the cable, and I can create custom shells for the base. If you think of the Microsoft adaptable mouse, where they intended kind of the front of their mouse with the buttons to be there, but you can put the back part of it on and create different designs. Um, It's something along those lines, but I think this will have a little more options and malleability to it. So you affix the shell to the top of the base, and the way I wanted to do this was have an industrial designer. If you don't know what industrial design is, it's basically a it's almost a subset of the field of mechanical engineering, but very creative, and they can really help with building shells of products. Uh, I'll say that. Um, but use them to work directly with experts, and experts include patients or anyone really, um, to imagine up ideas for multiple mouse shell designs with features that are customized for individuals or groups of individuals' needs. So at first, we'd focus on maybe 2 to 3 disabilities and work with the industrial designer with groups of people or experts with groups of people to come up with a few designs and then see how that works in the community and then expand out from there. And the buttons on the mouse and the scroll wheel would be what I call modular. So essentially you could place it anywhere on the mouse. So if you wanted your pointer clicker to be your thumb, because only you only have strength in your thumb, say, to press the button, but not other fingers. If you want like a pinch button or something like that, we could place that kind of anywhere on these mice. And then it'd be scalable for different size hands. So you can kind of see a few of the designs. You can see the bottom of my mouse on the left, and then a few kind of concept designs on the right. One of them, this bottom right, even though it's kind of crude, I made that for a gentleman with CP, and the post that's on the top. I should mention my background. I'm an electrical engineer, so I'm not very good at the mechanical stuff, but I can do like really crude designs like that one. But he couldn't grip the mouse. He wanted this as just the controller. So I made it so his fingers draped over the front of it. And then when he lifted up, he can lift up and hit that archway that goes over it. So that's an example, even though it's very crude. Working with an industrial designer, they could make it look a lot better than that. And the upper mouse up here, that's very smooth and kind of has those ridges and stuff. That's an example of what an industrial designer can do, or even this. So the printer that I wanted to use, so the top shell would be 3D printed, and the specific printer is a SLS printer. Basically, what an SLS printer does is lays down say a 1 foot by 1 foot bed of powder, really thin layer of powder, and then it uses a laser to harden the powder where you want it hardened, and then it lays another thing of powder on top of that and keeps on doing that. This is actually this left image is a metal printer, so you see the sparks. It generally doesn't have the sparks when the laser comes in, but it's the same concept. It just kind of the picture looks a little cool with the sparks. And then on the right are examples of some of the plastic parts that were made using an SLS printer. You can violate some engineering rules using these printers that you can't necessarily do with molded products. So that's really good for us. So if you wanted, say, a grip where your hand goes over the mouse like that, you can print it out just like that without any real supports because this printer can just do that. Um, Next is there was a couple mouse projects, and I showed Eric these before. I'm not going to go through the videos, but I do have them here, and I'll send this slideshow to Eric so he can share it out. Um, but there's a esports team named Fnatic. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. They worked with BMW to make mouse shells for their team members, and they use the SLS printer that I mentioned above to achieve this. Now they're making them for pro players that are experts in the game, but I'd be looking to make a lot more non-standard, unique designs than them to kind of help out the disabled community. There was another mouse, Canadian company called Formify that they had a failed Kickstarter, but they had a lot of cool ideas. The reason they failed that Kickstarter is because they really just didn't advertise for it. But I posted that as well because it's another kind of proof of concept that this is a way that that can be done, or this is something that can be done. And that's about it. I'm just listing who I am there and my contact information. So I guess that's about it from me, Eric. If there's any questions or any comments, I'm open to all that.
Yeah, looks like go, Brandy. You got one.
Okay, so I have two questions. One, well, this isn't a question. This is really cool. But my first question is what, I guess because normal mouses have optical tracking, right? Like that red light at the bottom of them. I guess what's the advantage of having that spring sort of tracking?
Yeah, so the spring itself, I this will have the red light, this kind of circuit right here that I'm circling with my mouse. I don't know if you can see the mouse. I think
Yeah,
can you see
we
the mouse?
can.
That's that circuit that you're talking about that has the red light pointing down.
Yeah.
It's in this circuit, so when it's not in the spring base, it does act as a mouse. And then
Oh,
when it is placed in the spring base, within the microcontroller itself on the board, it converts itself to almost be a threshold device. So as you go beyond a certain threshold on your spring base, it clicks a key. So it may press. So forward is W. So as you go beyond 2
okay.
millimeters or 2 centimeters, it's going to press the W key for you.
Okay.
So does that make sense? I hope that answered
Yeah, no,
what
that
you were
definitely
saying.
makes sense. I was just
And
trying to like understand where that difference lies.
yeah, I also have something that I didn't mention because it's in the details, but I think it's kind of relevant in that I do have a freeform mode, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in the base
Hmm.
to be the slide controller. So say you press a button on the mouse and it turns into the slide controller. You
Hmm.
move the mouse forward and it's going to press the W key. You release that and it becomes the mouse. Release that button and it becomes the mouse again. So I have some features that I've kind of dreamed up and I have it in the software for this particular unit. And for everything will be kind of future products too. I want to keep building upon this idea and making it better and doing that.
Okay. And then my second question was, so you talked about customizable mouse shells. Now, is that something that would have to be like requested and then you design it for the person, or is it going to be modular where you could purchase like a piece of it and then attach it to the mouse? I don't know. Uh,
Yep.
okay.
So it's more of a full shell that's designed.
Okay.
And I'm very open for ideas on this. This is just a concept for now. But the idea is that it'll be the full shell that's designed around certain people's abilities or groups of people's abilities. And everybody's different, of course. Um, but hopefully we can encapsulate the needs of, say, 3 to 10 different groups of people and make custom shells for each of those. And at that point in time, if there are small modifications that need to be made or that people want, individual requests can be done. One of my initial ideas for making these shells was to kind of make a I'm trying to think of how I put this. It's kind of a keep out design where you could mold clay over a plastic model that has limitations where that clay can be molded. It's hard to conceptualize. I'm sorry about that. But you could take an existing clay model of a design and make modifications from there to suit the needs of someone. Then you can scan it with a 3D printer and print the shell out. So that was one of the concepts that's still on the table that I'm looking into. So like clay models that can be scanned and 3D printed out. And then with those clay models, you can say where you want your modular buttons and modular scroll wheel to be. So the initial models that I'd work on the industrial designer with can either be sold or be used as ideas to create customized models. One of my biggest intents of this project is to keep the price as low as possible. I really don't want to make a profit on this, and I really don't want a mouse that's going to cost anyone over $100. I want it to be as low as possible, but 100 is like my break point where I don't think it's acceptable to have a mouse of this style to be in the price. Like someone could create this custom for each person, and it would cost $500 each. I don't want that. So
Okay. Thank you.
I think I answered your questions. Let me know if I missed anything there. Sorry, I ramble a little bit.
Nope, you're good.
Go, JJ. You're muted though in Google.
Oh, nice. Gene, you're muted
JJ.
right now.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Hi, I'm JJ. I'm one of the managers at CS Mod Children's Hospital. I think you've been in contact with Connor, our project manager, and you sent this to us.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I know they were asking about it. Like, I love this thing. It's not even, it's like a working prototype. So like not all the buttons work, but a lot of them do work, which I was really impressed with. But it's just I know Brittany, you were asking about, I think like how it works without the scanner underneath. And I don't know if this helps, if you guys can see that at all.
Yeah, so some of the initial prototypes I just used and you can take this idea too if you ever want to create something. I just used keyboard keys on the bottom and a post that went through. So as you went forward, it would actually press the key. The final models won't have that kind of thing in there. It uses the springs within the keyboard keys to center it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the final model won't necessarily have that design in there, but I do like how that one works. It's a very crude model that you have, but it works.
I'm horrible at mouse and keyboard, as Eric can. I played with them one night with this thing, and I was like, oh, I just got to get the key bindings right, and it'll be perfect. And but also like I do have a lot of patients who like they just don't have the finger movement to do WASD, and this is really like the floatiness of it, and the it just feels very natural. So yeah, I don't know where you guys are at. I know we ordered a bunch of these because we really like them. So I'm just like shouting your praises to everybody else. Like it's definitely worth checking out. It feels good, and this is a very like prototyping that you guys were really generous to send to us. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Connor, as he mentioned, got a hold of me during my my Kickstarter campaign, and I talked with him for a while, and I was excited to send even just a crude prototype over to him to see.
Yeah, and I guess for everyone to know, like we literally just I just plugged it in, and it's worked with every computer I've plugged in, and almost all of them, like you said, it's a kind of a crude prototype, but almost every button works. And then this part, moving just forward, backward, it's like using a joystick and a mouse at the same time, like this. So it's just very. It even sent like little stickies to stick to our desks, or I like to like hold it on my knee. Yeah, I love it. So I can't wait to see the final product.
I can't wait to get them. I have it in manufacturing right now, and I think I mentioned I'm delivering in October, or that's the goal. And I hope it doesn't disappoint. It's always a scare in my shoes. So all right. What are you
Oh.
saying? Oh, there you go.
Go for it, Mark. You're there you go.
As far as the like the thresholds for movement and stuff, are you able to like edit those parameters, or are they just like a static default?
I'm able to edit them. Let me see something real quick. So this is something that I don't think anybody has really seen yet. Let me pull something up real quick and show you what this looks like. Sorry, I didn't plan on doing this, so it's going to take a couple seconds to get this up here.
Oh, no worries. No, thanks for trying to figure that out, because I'm just curious about that, because obviously, with different things, you might want a really small threshold, or for someone that's more heavy-handed, you might want to increase the threshold. So I was wondering.
Yeah. Oh, come on, program. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is what the software will look like. One moment. Let me see if I can see again. Okay, yeah, it shows up. Where you can kind of take any button on the mouse.
Can you make it any
Um,
bigger, Brandon?
Oh yeah, I can. Let's see if it works. Oh, good, it did.
Oh, cool.
So say if you want to change your right click to be a keyboard function, you press like H. Suddenly, well, this is on a left-handed mouse. Let's go to a right-handed. So left click. You can also disable all the buttons if you can see that. Keyboard function. So let's say if you want your left click to be H, or if you want it to be a macro or a modifier or something like that. You can set it up to be that. Oh, that's interesting. That's a fun bug I didn't see before. I'll have to talk to my software guys about that. It's reversed, but that's all right. So if we go into the motion controller, you can set these up to be any action and macro also. So if you wanted the keyboard to be even just like left shift, and you wanted backwards to be right shift, or anything you want it to be, you can set those up. You can also set it to be analog mode. You can set up the dead zone. So that's what you were mentioning. The threshold can be changed. This is just a representation of how big that dead zone is. The movement of the mouse is fairly small, but the representation means that you can almost be to the limit before it actually presses the key, or you can be very small, like little touches will press the key. So you have those options. It also has an analog mode with the dead zone. Analog would be just like a regular joystick. So the smaller your movement, the less input it gives.
Great.
And hopefully that answers that question. This software is still in the works, which is why it's not shared too much, and it still has some bugs in it, but you get the idea of where that's going, hopefully.
No, that's great. And I appreciate the preview into it too. That definitely is nice to see.
Yeah, and something else about the software that's probably good for a business standpoint is I don't like a lot of the softwares that the big name brand companies have, where you have to connect to the internet or put a password in, and it saves your profiles across, or you have to be running it to run the mouse. I have something where this software gets pushed to the mouse into the mouse's memory itself. You can
Nice.
connect it to any computer, and it saves these settings on the mouse. And you can
Great.
do multiple profiles on a single device and switch them around. But I really didn't want to be this to be bloatware. I want it to be just a software for the mouse, not anything more than that. Any more questions?
Give people a minute or two.
Yeah, no problem.
Think about it. Cool. Well, thank you.
And I guess my last comment here before you chime in, Eric, is like I said, this is just a concept. So any ideas on the contrary, or any ideas or help that that can be steered my way is always accepted. This is going to be something that's I've always been conflicted about how I'll fund this. I thought about going for NSF, like SBIR funding for it. But the SBIR really wants you to make a profit on the products you're building, and that's not what I want to do with this. So my thoughts right now is I once my company is nice and healthy, to self-fund it within the company. And the printer that I mentioned before, it's an expensive printer, but I can use it for my other business needs too. So I can justify getting that and using it for this project like that. So like use it as a means for me to get a tool. And I like my tools. So, but anyways, I'm off on a tangent again. But yeah, any ideas or help or thoughts now or in the future, especially, is always accepted and much appreciated. So go ahead, Eric, and thanks for having me again.
No, for sure. I think a lot of people are very interested in the project and are very excited to know more once they're sort of out, and definitely as the second project evolves. For sure. I put Brandon's email in the Slack if anyone wants to reach out with other questions or whatnot. And certainly come October, we'll try to get our hands on a couple that we can make available to people or something. But
yeah,
sure.
I know I'm sending some to Able Gamers. I kind of asked if anyone wanted to donate to Able Gamers, and I took those funds and tripled them, and I'm giving them several devices. I'll
Sweet.
send you at least one set. I'll see what I have here.
Cool.
Just
That'll be great.
automatically. And I think Connor's getting some. I'm not sure how many he ordered, but he'll get at least one or two sets. So
Cool. If there is, if other hospitals would like to still order some, can they do it through your site still, or
yes,
they have to wait until they're released?
So on the Kickstarter, I think if you order them now, you get about $10 off from what they'll be after October. But again, it's a pre-order. So I'll send a message out when I have them on hand too. So
cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, people have your stuff so they can reach out if they need. I don't have to keep you more than a full hour, I guess. But cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll probably listen in for the rest of the call. I'm just kind of curious. So
sure. Yeah. I'm going to turn off the recording because we've done that part.